What if the root cause of your fatigue, brain fog, weight gain, and even grey hairs wasn't aging or stress, but parasites? Welcome to the Awaken Mama podcast, where we challenge the mainstream, explore the hidden truths of wellness, and empower women to take their health into their own hands. Today's episode is a game changer. I'm joined by Kim Rogers, also known as the Worm Queen, founder of Rogers Hood Apothecary and inventor of the viral Parasite cleanse that's helped millions of people detox, heal, and reclaim their vitality. She's on a mission to help you become your own patient advocate, to take your power back, trust your body, and be well. We're diving into parasites, mold, nutrient deficiencies, natural detox protocols, and why so many women are living with symptoms they've been told are normal. Let's get into it. Welcome, Kim. If anyone doesn't recognize who we are speaking to the Worm Queen. I'm so excited to have you on.
Isn't it the funniest name? I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you guys and your community, and what we're about to talk about is kind of a crazy, weird thing. And I definitely know that Australia is one of our top 3 buying for the Parasite cleanse. So I know that you guys are under the Western medicine umbrella like we are. So this is going to be amazing for everyone to hear the knowledge, and I'm excited for you.
Yes. Well, we have definitely been waking up here in Oz. There are still some people sleeping that haven't
Yeah.
caught up, and hopefully this reaches them, because I've definitely had some conversations with people. Even it was at the hospital, and I took my son there, and because he doesn't have a doctor, he had a cough that wasn't going away. And so we rocked up just to get him checked, because we do all of the like tinctures and everything. But we were like, let's just check, because he's not how do I say the word? Jabbed. He's not jabbed.
Right.
He doesn't have
Right.
any of those.
He stays in a traditional holistic
Yes.
way of life, right? He has not gone into the Western medicine
Yeah.
indoctrination just yet.
Yes. And so when the doctor was questioning me, has he had any rashes? And I was like, yes, but I do believe that was at the back end of a parasite cleanse that we did. And he was like, why were you doing a parasite cleanse? And I'm like, because we've all got parasites and we were away on holidays and we had all you can eat sushi. So we did a parasite cleanse. And he's like, he was so confused. I could see him processing, like, so you do this often? And I was like, yeah, you've got parasites if you're not parasite cleansing. He was a young doctor. And so I just like to spread the word wherever possible.
Well, and we're doing it. Like, we're as society causing this ripple effect, that we're making this cool, because it is cool to assist your body and using herbs to push unwanted things out of your body. I mean, parasite's definition is a unwanted dinner guest, and it's anything that feeds off the host. So anything that's stealing your nutrients, like parasites can do, you don't want that in your body. And on top of that, they also hold heavy metals, spores, viruses, and bacteria, and eggs. And so that's why you want to do a correct cleanse, so that you rid your body of all those things and they don't go back into your body. And I think that's why our kit, the Parasite kit, is so successful, because we help with all of that. We're not just sending you a parasite cleanse to do just rid your body of specific parasites. From my own experience, and that's why I was labeled the Worm Queen, is because I talk about this. I tell you and I show you and I educate you guys on exactly the best ways to cleanse, even if it isn't with my product. We do ship worldwide. We're one of the few companies that actually ship everything worldwide, and we have a nut-free option, and we're good for ages 3 and up. So
yes, there we go. I was going to ask that. The twins have just turned
yeah.
3 last month, so let's go. Okay, I love that. And when you say about what the parasites and all the toxins and stuff, when I did my first parasite cleanse, I did it at the end of my 2.5-year breastfeeding journey with the twins. So I did my first detox, and it was a high protein detox that I did, and I did it at the same time as a parasite cleanse. I could feel the toxins moving through my body. I also did coffee enemas at the same time. man, I like as I they it was 3 days, I could feel them shifting through my body, and it was just this like inflammation and like,
Yeah.
and once I passed the all of the disgust that was in me, I felt so much
So
better. And
much
the
better.
hangries went away. My God, I had no idea that. I'm like, yeah, I'm one of those girls. Like, I get hangry. If I don't feed myself, it was the parasites that were hangry.
Yeah, it's true. They have a mind of their own. They're their own frequency. And that's why you can feel them. People think it's crazy, but we've just not really studied the way our bodies should be, right? We've just been kind of like, oh, this is normal. This is normal. But you can feel them moving because they're alive inside of your body. And it's a weird, freaky thing. And just on a side note, I actually took that feeling that I had and I added that into one of our tinctures with an herb because you sometimes it is uncomfortable to deworm and to remove heavy metals and you can feel it. So I added white willow bark as one of the herbs in Meadow Flush specifically because you can feel this. And so it kind of lightens that pain load that you may have. Not everyone has that, but I had physical worms and I could feel them being pulled from my muscle. And I also have Lyme. And so, really, that's a parasite as well. So, it's like trying to maneuver that uncomfortable feeling and not being able to know what you should take for it. I put that in the Parafy kit because of my own personal experience with parasite cleansing and how uncomfortable it can be and how you can feel those things. And same with like heavy metals. You can feel heavy metals. They're not as high of a frequency feel as parasites and mold, but you can definitely feel things moving throughout your body when you're doing these detoxes. It's wild.
Maybe TMI, but my husband, because I just finished breastfeeding and I still had
Mhm.
breast milk, accidentally tasted my breast milk, and he could taste the metallic taste when I was detoxing it all out. He was like,
Yeah.
this is why mothers do not do cleansers like that when you're breastfeeding, because you don't want to be feeding that to your babies, like the heavy
Yes.
metals and stuff.
Thank you for saying that because it was one thing where ages 3 and up, but it's no breastfeeding, no pregnancy, no blood thinners, no chemo meds, and you should look at your medications against our herbs. And we show you how to do all of that in my link tree with a link called Hello Pharmacist, and you can type in your meds and then we're transparent and you can see all of our herbs. And if you can't see them, you can email us and we'll tell you. And then you can go in and look at your meds against our herbs. So it's really a good tool to have for really anything other than just the parasite cleanse. It's really good just to know not every herb can be used with your medications or other herbs. So things like blood thinners, the reason why is because wormwood is a blood thinner. And so we're not using something that we know every, contraindication. We're doing what we're told, what we're supposed to be doing for the parasite cleanse. So it's kind of your responsibility to make sure that you're not doing it when you're breastfeeding or on other medications because breast milk is a pathway and it's a pathway of escape. And so heavy metals escape there. And maybe you had a parasite that didn't cross the womb, but when you do a parasite cleanse, it'll come out your breast milk and you may give your baby a parasite that they didn't even have because you're breastfeeding and you're giving them an abundance of herbs because it's all coming out, right? It's an exit point. So that's why you don't want to breastfeed when you're doing a parasite cleanse or really any detoxing, to be honest with you. I don't really know many detoxes that you can do where you can do it while you're pregnant or breastfeeding.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely not good, not safe. So that's why I waited the 2.5 years. And I was so excited because everyone in our programs was just having such great results. And I'm over here with FOMO.
You're like, I understand the FOMO. So I do. I understand, not because I have had children, but I was doing a fulvic soak and I went very viral over a fulvic soak because I had it come out of my feet. I had worms come out of my feet and I posted the video, but prior to that video, I never shared the video where was sitting there recording myself. I'm like, all right, I'm 5 minutes into this foot soak and I'm not feeling anything. I'm not seeing anything. I'm like, ugh, now I know how you all feel when you message me and say, I didn't see anything. I didn't feel anything because I didn't. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God. I looked down and I had a worm swimming in my fulvic soak.
Okay, I felt like that. I did a bentonite clay. What else did I put in there? Bicarb soda, something else. It'll come like at 1 a.m. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was the three things that I put in the bath, and I was like, surely I'm gonna see some stuff, but maybe the bentonite clay is pretty murky, so
Yeah.
I I was a little disappointed. I'm like searching in the bath once I got out, like anything. But I had done prior cleanses. I don't know if that was why. I'd already done a few cleanses, but
To be honest with you, I hear that a lot because I do this all day. I've been doing this every day. I say that I've done this every day, never a day off, but I actually kind of took Sunday off, which was yesterday. But I still worked. So I guess that doesn't really count, does it? No, I still work. Okay, I've done this every single day since July of 2021. I have never taken a day off. Even yesterday, I was like, it's my day off. But I'm looking now and I'm like, no, I still texted my business partner. I still was working. But one of the things that I learned in the process of all of this is one, they don't always show themselves. That's a big one. They're not always something you can visibly see. And sometimes when you take things like wormwood and Oregon grapefruit and like pineapple juice, even, it'll obliterate them. So you might not always see anything. So we usually tell people to just, how do you feel? Like, why did you want to do this to begin with? And also, if you do just one, it's not a one and done. We recommend doing 3 to 4 times a year because we're exposed every single day. There isn't a day that goes by unless you live in a bubble. And a lot of times I'm in a bubble because all I do is sit on a computer now and talk. But when I go out and about in the real world, I'm exposed. I'm exposed by our water because our water is contaminated. I'm exposed if I eat sushi or I won't eat salmon, but I used to. I don't eat raw produce out and about. I only eat it at home because I know that it's been correctly cleaned. But if you're doing all of these things, I'm not out here telling you to not live your life, but I am telling you to be proactive and to just know that we're exposed. If you have pets, you're exposed all day, every day, because pets are a huge reason why we have parasites and animals in particular, right? Because some of them, like a bear, they're smart and they go and eat things like hawthorn berry when they are eating when they have a tapeworm because they're eating food that has them. But then there's us where we're out here and we're like, we're not going to get it. We're human, which is so wrong. It's so wrong. So I just recommend that everybody should be proactive with their health and do parasite cleansing 3 to 4 times a year minimum because you are exposed on a daily basis.
yeah, they are everywhere. You mentioned some of the places, and we're having conversations with people who, I don't know, have I become parasite obsessed? I'm just talking to everyone about parasites. And people are like, oh no, well I don't eat meat, and I'm like, yeah, but you used to, and same, I don't eat meat. And it's in
Yeah.
the water and it's in the soil.
Mhm.
Like toxins, when you said the real world, I thought the toxic world.
It's toxic. Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe environmental toxins are real chronic illness issue. I really believe that when you start to give your body a chance to fight for healing, because we're in a place now where we've got an overabundance of toxins in our bodies, heavy metals, spores. I mean, we're exposed to mold, we're exposed to the parasites, but we just haven't been given the knowledge to be able to fight for our own health, right? And that's really where we're all at right now. After 2020, I believe that a lot of people did a medical awakening and came to realize that, like, we've been indoctrinated to a point. And, like, even someone like myself that's been in the medical field since 2004, I hold 2 healthcare degrees. I was a professor. I ran 25 healthcare colleges. I served on medical advisory boards. I wrote national certifications for multiple different layers of medicine. And I still had no idea that this really could be such a huge thing for me. Personally, my body was shutting down because I had cryptosporidium parvium, which is parvo, which kills puppies. And I got it from my water. And then I had my water tested and I had roundworm and I saw roundworm, pinworms, and flukes in the toilet. And that's what made me do my video that made me go viral, that made all of this happen. I was on my own health journey. I had left my real life in 2019, and my husband and I had come to grips that my health was declining so fast. It was so fast. I mean, it was overnight. And looking at why now was I had a huge stressor in 2016 and my health just started to decline. And when you have a lot of stress, like I was going through the stress, it was almost like a light ignition for the parasites to go, okay, she's activated us. And then they started to slowly take over my body, as well as I was in mold. And I didn't know that the remodel we were doing was moldy. And then when we moved and sold that house, we ended up moving into our travel trailer to build our log home. My husband and I built a log home on our own, and we were in mold in that travel trailer. So all I did was just cause more and more co-infections, allowing them to thrive and really take over my body. And that happens to a lot of us, not even realizing it. It just starts to decline us. And I have Lyme. So I was just like piling on these environmental toxins. And my body was like, I think I've had enough. And so it started to fail. And I had had 13 surgeries before because I had a hysterectomy when I was 29 for endometriosis. And so my body already was weakened, which is a lot of people that I talk with on a daily basis and that we have in our community. It's just, it can happen so fast and we don't even realize it. So I try and teach people to be proactive instead of being reactive, because even a medical professional, I was a valedictorian in both of my degrees. I still missed this. You know what I mean? I missed it. And
Yeah.
so that's why I was crowned the worm queen, because it doesn't bother me to talk about it. I know, I'm like, I don't want to be known as the worm lady.
It's so funny. There's so much to your story. Honestly, it's so touchy. There's actually so much I want to speak into there. The fact that you went to prepare for your passing
Mhm.
and mushrooms. I see them in the
Mhm.
background. I know there's more to the
Life.
story. Speak to
Yes.
us about how you went to prepare for ultimately your death.
Well, I made sure my husband's mortgage and debt was not there, because being chronically ill was really expensive. And that's why we like sold everything and moved out there. That's like a huge burden that was immediately removed off of me. And he quit his job to be my caretaker so that I could just focus solely on what I needed to do to get myself out of the situation I was in. And so we started to research different ways to help me, one, get off of my mental health meds. I was on Klonopin after 22 years. So I was on a benzodiazepine at the highest level you can be at, which was 4 milligrams. And with 2020 happening, I live in Washington and I wasn't following the policies and procedures that they were forcing us to be a part of. And so I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do if I go into like a state of like withdrawal? I can't go and reach out to any doctors here. So I started researching what it looked like to, one, protect your brain. I treated my endometriosis like the big C word, and I wanted to know what other options I had to help myself and support myself going forward. And mushrooms came up. And I remember when I was in the field, neurology was my specialty because I was a licensed medical specialist, and neurology and endocrinology were my specialties. So I remember back in that day that lion's mane was a huge proponent of people that had Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and dementia. And it was like one of the few things that crossed the blood brain barrier and actually went in and healed versus just like bouncing off that and band aiding it. And I also found out that Amanita, which is this beautiful red mushroom that we pay homage to every day. It's on all of our merch. It's all over you whenever you pull us up. And then psilocybin, which is magic mushrooms. And I had done a lot of research to find out what I could do with this mushroom because it literally is at my log home. And so I was like, this is readily available. What can I do with this mushroom? How can I pull the medicine out of this mushroom? And how can I combine it with other mushrooms to help me get off of my Klonopin? And that was the first goal me and Jeremy wanted to go through with. They wanted to diagnose me with Parkinson's because I was having, now I know, side effects from the Klonopin. I was having like the flares, which I also know is because of mold poisoning and parasites. And so it was like the Klonopin was covering that up, not allowing my body to heal and understand and subconsciously rewire my brain telling me, listen, it's parasites, it's mold. Like you got more going on, girl, than just you got to get off pharmaceuticals. And so I really worked at learning about the mushroom, which then led me to learn about herbs. And I come from synthetic drugs. I did understand like marijuana, those type of things. Like I understand the basics of that as herbs go, but I did not understand the deep dive that I was about to go into with mushrooms and then how they all work together. So my husband paused our build because I didn't trust anybody in my DMs on Instagram to order really good mushrooms, right? And so we grew them ourselves. He paused our build to learn how to grow mushrooms, to be able to grow mushrooms for me to get off of my meds. So it was like this foundational plan that we had to go and do. We just couldn't take me off my meds. You have to taper down. And I didn't have doctors to help me taper down because I wasn't going on the 2020 agenda, you know? So it was really about us learning everything on our own. And luckily I have the medical background to be able to go, okay, so this part of my body needs help. This is what medication I would do. What's equal to that medication as an herb? So that's kind of how we triangulated everything. And we did that for about a year and a half. And it was around May of 21 that I was scrolling with purpose. At this point, I had maybe 10,000 followers on my TikTok account that I was showing people our log home build and how to grow mushrooms and just a more clean, healthy lifestyle. And I was showing people how I was rebuilding my body and rebuilding my life because I basically like dipped out of normal life to heal myself. And I came across this one girl's TikTok that said, "Wait a minute, I almost unalived myself over worms." And I stopped on her TikTok and I was like, oh my God. I thought a few years ago I had worms. I had flares during the full moon. I had itchy butt periodically throughout the month, not just on the full moon. I remember my dogs had parasites and we were as good as we could be deworming them periodically, but I remember seeing that. And I remember seeing cryptosporidium signs because I live on the outskirts of a rainforest. And I remember seeing that sign, don't let your dog drink the puddles. The water sitting is crypto. Don't drink the water yourself. Like I remember seeing that and not really even thinking, oh, I'm human. I could get that. And then it was like one day I had a Kundalini awakening. Everything just went, and I just started remembering all of these signs. And so I ran with this parasite cleanse this chick was talking about. It was just something off of Amazon and no binders, no, I didn't know any of that. So I just took like wormwood, garlic, clove. Like I took this tincture and it was just a parasite cleanse. That was it. It wasn't anything extra like what the Parasite kit has. And I dumped roundworm, pinworm, and flukes in the toilet 3 days later. And this pain that I had had on my right side when I knew it was time for me to have surgery, I had surgery every 2 years because I would have this pain and I couldn't get rid of the pain. And so they would go in and they would go, "Oh yeah, it's your endometriosis," and they'd scrape it out. And then I started creating scar tissue, so they'd scrape that out and it was back. And they were like, "Kim, you can't have any more surgeries." And so
There's nothing left
when
to scrape, girl.
there's nothing left, I'm creating more problems. So as soon as I did that cleanse, within 3 days, that pain was gone. I dumped a crap ton of worms, and here we are. I started investigating our water. I created my own kit. I have my own company. Like, it just started that day. And I just remember going, I don't even know where to begin. And people in my comments were like, "You need to bind. Like, we can see your skin. You're not binding. You need to do a heavy metal detox at the same time. You didn't do that. That's causing problems." You like, they're just listing it in my comments. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm going in. I'm going in.
Oh, there's so much to your story. And if anyone can take anything away, I want it to be that you really just stepped in. And before you became the worm queen, you honestly stepped into a queen identity and owned your shit. Like,
Yeah.
for people who allow, I have autoimmune condition, and allow that to be their story without doing any kind of research or, speaking to anyone, natural alternatives, any of that, and allow that to just take them down and be, well, that's my life.
Yep.
You were determined to show yourself, live a different story. That's not going to be my death of
Yeah.
worms or whatever the unknown. At the time in the beginning, you were like, this isn't it for me. So it's just
Well,
such
and I
a
wasn't
powerful
like this
story.
before. I did roller derby. I was a snowboarder. I worked 80 hours a week and I ran 25 healthcare colleges. I wrote books. I slept like 4 hours a night. I went to college while I was working 80 hours. Like, so for me as a high achiever, that all of a sudden started declining so rapidly and no doctors could tell me what was wrong. And there wasn't anyone that even really believed me. And all my labs were normal. And I'm like, but there were indications on some of my labs that showed, now I know how to read them, but it showed that I had mold and parasites in my body. And so there are specific labs that you can get done that will show that, but they're not learning these things in college. They're not learning these things in med school. They see this number, this EOS level, and they're like, "Oh, that's just because your body's fighting an infection." Well, it's high every single time I get my blood work done. So what infection is going on in my body to have my body continually stay in a fight or flight mode, right? Because that's really what's going on, is your body wants to heal itself, but once it starts to turn on itself, that's when you get an autoimmune. An autoimmune disease is your body turning on itself. It doesn't know what this invader is, so it starts to fight it. And once it gets tired and doesn't have the energy anymore to fight it, it just starts to fight itself. And so you've got to find a way to level that out. And sometimes it is as simple as doing a parasite cleanse. Like for me, I went 20 years sick, having 13 surgeries. And could I have avoided a parasite, or could I have avoided surgery that's life altering, that I can never have children, over a parasite cleanse? Possibly, possibly, you know?
I want to speak into the mold a little, because you were saying about the testing. Now, my doctor is great. She's all about natural health and knows better than to sort of prescribe me anything, because I wouldn't take it. But I did go to her and say, right, the next thing, because I go there and it's always about aiming for optimal health and vitality.
Yeah.
I'm that science geek that's like, let's test me now. Like, I've done the comprehensive DNA testing, I've done the Dutch hormone test, and the biological age test. So when I went to her for mold testing, it's not something that she can just go refer me to. I was snooping through your link tree. Now, you've got a link there that people can go and get tested. Is that right, for mold?
Yeah, you can go to like Vibrant. They have good testing for mycotoxins. Your doctor can actually do it. She just has to ask for it specifically. And most of the ones that are the most damaging to your body is Aspergillus niger. And so she just has to go in, or a doctor just has to go in and actually ask for that specific test. So there isn't just a way to go in and be like mold. They have to go in and actually break down which molds, penicillins, those type of molds. I have 11 active molds in my body, and my mom does as well. So you can actually give the mold spores to your child. It can be passed down. And then I lived in mold, and I have chronic Lyme, which I'm a pretty typical case in Western medicine. I'm not anything special, honestly. My husband has mold, parasites, and Lyme. My best friend has mold and parasites, and my other best friend's a doctor, and he has mold, parasites, and Lyme. So it really is kind of a thing that we're just digging into it, right, as environmental toxins go. But you can do a mold cleanse without knowing what your molds are. And I actually created a mold kit cleanse specifically because of my mold journey. And what happens is the parasites, if you have physical parasites, they'll actually hold on to those spores. And then when you're deworming, they'll drop those spores. And I've created multiple different herbs in there to help whisk those spores out. But then you have to go in and still do a actual mold cleanse itself using something like fennel. And so those things go in and actually like diffuse the spores. A lot of people don't realize that with mold, it looks just like it does on your wall in your body. So if you were to cut yourself in half and look at the insides, it's colonizing just like it colonizes in the walls. The thing that's different is it's its own frequency. And when it gets a party with the parasites, they just start to like feed off of each other. And so when you start to have things like candida overgrowth and parasites and the mold, they all just feed off each other. So you kind of have to go in and diffuse them individually or with specific herbs.
Yeah, it sounds like there's some sort of toxic party going on in there.
They've created an entire ecosystem in your body, and they'll take over. They'll take over. When I found out I had mold because I did a year of Parify and then I took a break. And wormwood will suppress the spores from growing. So when I was doing the Parify kit, wormwood is in Parify, and I was suppressing the spores and I was living in the mold at the same time. So I wasn't having mold reactions. When I got off of the wormwood in the Parify kit, my eyes swelled shut and my hair started falling out. I lost half of my hair, and my brain fog was like so beyond. We were a year into Roger's Hood, so I was already very viral on the social media. I was trying to make videos and my eyes were swollen shut and hurt. My hair was just like baseball amounts falling out at once. And I was like, what is going on? So I called my doctor. And at this point, I have a really good doctor now. And she's been with me since basically the beginning. After I got my labs back saying I had parasites, I had to go find an actual doctor that would help me. And so she tested me for mold. She specifically went in and did EBV, which is Epstein-Barr, CMV, which is cytomegalovirus. Those are two very common viruses that parasites hang out with, and that you really need to have an actual parasite cleanse. That's why I created the kit, because I went through all of these. I found out before we created the kit that a lot of these issues were going on, and I didn't use herbs that help sweep the stuff out, right? So when all this was going on, she retested me for everything, and I was like hot with mold. And then I immediately paused and I started testing our environment. I started looking around where we were living, and I found it. I found the mold in our trailer that we were living with, and I pulled all of it away from the wall, all of our furniture away from the wall. And I was like, Jeremy, this is killing us. Literally, we're at 8.5 level out of 10. Like, we should have been in the hospital. And he wasn't as bad because he would go out and build the house, get fresh air. He had an APAP machine, so his air was filtered. So he was only breathing it for about 4 or 5 hours a day. I never left because I was still pretty chronically ill when all of this started. I still wasn't at my optimal level, I've just in the last year gotten myself into a position that I feel like a normal human being again. But he looked at it, he's like, no, it's not that bad. And I'm like, this is terrible. We gotta go. So we moved. We moved out of our trailer because you can't stay in the moles and heal fully. You can't. So we were being pelted with worm water because our water was contaminated. I had our water tested. It came back positive for worms. Then I tested our trailer. It came back positive for aspergillus, psyllium, and clado, which is a green mold. And so, I mean, it was just, and this is how a lot of Western medicine people live. I'm a typical Western medicine person.
Yeah. Okay. So rather than get the mold testing, because that's what I've been looking into, I'm like, I'm going to test the home because
Yep.
here
You
in
should.
far north Queensland, it rains half the year. We have wet
Mhm.
season for half the year. So you'll notice like outside during wet season, if you leave things out, they'll just go moldy like quick because it's just
Mhm.
always damp out there. And so I've been feeling like my sinuses are so much worse since we've moved here. But I'm like, is it because we live near sprays with the cane fields? There's loads of sugar canes and banana farms, and the planes will fly really low over, even though we're maybe not even 10 minutes out. We're so close with the sprays that got to be getting us. I thought that was going to be it. But then I was like, no, I think it's the mold.
Mhm.
So I should be testing the home
Mhm.
and just get on your mold stuff.
Yeah. I think that because you're having histamine reaction when you're outside, that there is probably a mold inside and outside. And so there's a company called gotmold.com, and I think they ship worldwide. But what they do is they send you this little machine. It's literally this big, and you put this cloth that they give you everything you need and instructions. It's so easy to use. And excuse me, you put this little, I don't know, it's like this circle plastic thing that has like a cloth in it. You set it in, it sucks the air outside. And then you go and you set it inside, and you can do 3 rooms at a time. And you set it inside to your most commonly used 3 rooms, and it tests your air. Then you send that to them, and they tell you what's in your air. So, outside as a baseline, okay, well, if your inside's worse than your outside, then you know that you've got mold on the inside of your house. And so we actually test our air in our log home. The log home doesn't have mold, but the outside in the air does. That has poisoned me and Jeremy. So we're just more conscientious about when we go outside and what we do outside now when we're at our log home. But the inside's perfect. It's clean. We use an air doctor, which is really important to use some sort of an air filter system when you have these type of histamine issues, or you go outside and your sinuses are all clogged up, because more than likely that is an indication that you have mold. But another indication you have mold is that you never want to be home. So if you're intuitively always leaving your home and you never want to go back, that's your body telling you something's wrong with the inside of your house and that it doesn't feel safe, and so it's trying to protect you. The other thing is you never feel hungry. That's a really weird side effect of what mold can do to your body. It can actually cause you to have metabolic disorder, and it hinders that feeling of hunger because it slows your metabolism down. So you never feel hungry. I never knew what hangry was because I've been in mold for so long over the last 10 years and didn't know it, that when I finally started demolding my body, I ended up being like, this is why everyone's so mean when they're hungry. Because I got mean. I'm all, this is hangry? I feel for all of you people.
Yeah, it's so not good. It's like, yeah, you feed me now, or like, yeah, I'm savage.
Yeah. And one more, that if you have a common symptom of mold is that you're peeing all night long. And the reason for that is your body's trying to rid the spores, and it goes out your urine. So there is an actual test that's a urine test that's for mold. And I recommend that. I think it's Vibrant that does it, but you can actually Google urine test mold, like your search engine. If any of you guys know how to look for SEOs, which is search engine optimization, by using specific words, just go into Google. and type in urine testing mold, and any of those words will pop up. And that's kind of a cheat code when you're researching and trying to find answers for yourself, because no one's going to give you these answers but you. You have to find them. The doctors you go to, I love and respect most of my doctors, but they only have such a short period of time. And when I worked in the field, we got 5 minutes with you, and you have 2 hours worth of problems, and we can't always help you in the 5 minutes. So you're bringing a list to us, and we're like, I'm hoping I can get to the most important. And you're trying to weed out in those 5 or 10 minutes what the real problem is. And a lot of time it gets lost in translation because we're not able to spend the time. And that's really what we're in a situation now, is that we haven't been taught how to do this for ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's really important. You go to your doctor and you're like, hey, I need a mold test. And they're like, yeah, they're out of that scope. That's not in their scope of practice. And unfortunately, there's a lot of malpractice lawsuits out there. So they can't go outside of their box. But if you bring it to them and you ask them, they'll either help you, which is a good doctor, and they'll find answers for you, or they'll at least be able to direct you in the direction you should go. And a lot of times, if you literally just email us, we'll help you, because I'm on the other end. I'm not answering the emails anymore directly, but if my team can't answer it, they message me. I have 30 employees. So I didn't take this lightly when I ended up going viral and starting our company. We have a 10,000 square foot manufacturing facility that we make our own products in, because I don't want anybody else to touch our products and to potentially not make them the way that we want them all made. And then we have 30 employees, and half of those are on my social media side, like assisting the community, because we do know how hard it is for you to find answers. I mean, I've accumulated all of this information over the last 4 years to get it in one space for everybody to be able to go to and read about and direct your physicians. I have a lot of doctors that come to me on a daily basis asking questions because they just don't know. And they know that I've dug deep for these answers. It's just not something that we discuss and we talk about. And I'm working on that changing.
I love that. Yeah, you really just covered everything to be able to serve your community and ensure that people don't have to live how you did. And
Yeah,
I
no
love
one wants
that.
that. And if I'm this knowledgeable about it and I have information about the body, it's like, one, I don't want to gatekeep that. And that's why I don't charge for anything but my kit. You can download my fast track guides, my cookbooks. I have a parasite identification book. It's like 600 pages long. If you don't know, if you're looking in the toilet and you're like, oh, I don't know what that is, go download my ebook and go and look to see. If you still don't know, you can send a picture to us. It'll probably end up in that ebook at some point. But it's I like to collect pictures.
Yeah, I mean the Happy Bum Co Facebook community.
Oh, wow.
There are some pictures in there that's
Oh
how
my
I was
gosh.
first learning about. Oh, okay, so that's what that looks like. That's what that is.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy that we don't talk about this. It's crazy that other countries deworm. It's crazy they have access, like Mexico, Jamaica, Latin American countries, even the Amish. Even the Amish know what to do, how to do it, what they should do first. Like, theirs is wild because they first check to see if you have a tapeworm. That's their first step. That if you go to them and you have IBS or stomach aches, they stick you in a milk bath, because tapeworms will come out trying to drink the milk because of the sugar, and they'll come out and then they pull out the worm.
Okay. So when you said tape there, I want to go to that
Yeah.
taping your butthole thing. What is that
Yeah.
about?
Hey, that's a pinworm thing.
Okay, is that supposed to be preventative for them to like so that you're catching the eggs? Is that just to see if you've got eggs? Why are we taping our buttholes?
A little of both. A little of both. It works. They'll come out, you'll see them, and then you bring the tape to your doctor, and then you know that you have pinworms. And I think that's the most validating thing for people, is just knowing they're not crazy, because we're gaslit to think we're crazy. So you tape your bum hole. They come out at night. The mom comes out and lays her eggs. That's what you're catching. You're catching eggs. So all of the tape that you pull off, if it has little white things, you just caught like a whole cycle that's no longer going to go back into your body.
Perfect. Okay, so Scotch tape.
Scotch tape,
everyone.
especially with a child. If you go and you like do some research on pediatrics and worms, this is the first thing they teach you when you're learning about kids is if they have itchy butt at nighttime, put a piece of tape across their bum, and at night the mom will come and lay her eggs and they'll attract right to that tape, and then you take that into your doctor to be believed. And then they just give you some sort of like chocolates for pinworms. But the thing is that it's not just pinworms that you're going to have. You're going to have a series of things, but at least then you'll know when you go into the doctor and you hand them that tape, like, just go take Parasite kit. Like Sustain is our tincture for pinworms. So I covered that because I had pinworms and I know what it's like to have pinworms, and it sucks real bad. As an adult, I had them and it sucks. I hated every moment of that. The itching, the not knowing what was going on. Like they have their own frequency. So the whole thing was so weird to me.
When my adult kids were younger, I used to go to the pharmacy and buy those chocolate squares every month. And it was like I was worming my dog because I was like, yep, you worm your dog, you worm your kids. And like,
Yeah.
I did that every month. And I went in one day, she goes to me, so do your kids actually have any symptoms of having worms? And I was like, no, I'm here to get their monthly worming. Like,
Yeah.
she goes, no, you don't need to do that. You only need to do it if they have symptoms. And I was like, so I
Not
started going to different pharmacies because
good.
intuitively I was just like, surely we should just be worming them, right? Like they're
Yeah.
worming the dog. Why wouldn't we worm the kids?
Well, and I mean, even think about it when you're out there gardening, okay? The reason why pinworms are so prevalent in children is because they eat dirt. Well,
Yeah.
when you're out there gardening and then you come in and you bite your fingers, right? Or you wipe yourself, maybe you think you got them all out of your nails, but did you? And they're microscopic. So how do you even know? So that's good for you for continuing to do that, because that probably saved your children a lot of trauma later on in life from getting pinworms over and over and over, because they're like lice of the butt. They're just going to keep on keeping on. And they live in the appendix. Do your children still have their appendix?
Yes.
That's where
Yay! I'm sure I
that's
gave
where
them some other traumas, but I'm so happy that I eliminated one.
Yes. Yeah, that's where they live. They live in the appendix. And a lot of nurses I've talked to said that when they've looked at appendixes, they've been full of worms, and it's pinworms. That's where they live.
Okay.
So,
That's so interesting.
yeah, you saved your kids from having their appendix removed.
Yay! I'm gonna be making some calls and telling them you're welcome.
Yeah. I saved your appendix, you guys. You might not have liked the chocolate, but
They did actually. They liked the chocolate. So yeah, it wasn't hard. I was like, makes sense. You like chocolate? Here you go. Okay, so I want to speak into the full moon and the timing of that with worms, because I learnt from your podcast about why, and that is it we have high serotonin and low melatonin, which is why for people like my mum who don't sleep during a full moon, the low melatonin makes sense. But and then we start, is it a few days prior? Can you speak into that?
Yeah, so there's like a French folklore that shows. So I'm going to do a little bit of a reason for all of it so people can understand why they chose the wording that they chose for 3 days prior to the full moon. So the French eat a lot of snails, and snails have schistomiacin, which is a parasite that coats the bladder. And they've actually found that a lot of unnecessary hysterectomies have happened because it lives inside of the female reproductive system, and that's through PubMed. So there's a bunch of studies about that. Well, the French were kind of the forefront of that because they eat snails and I think it's called something else, but I call it schistomiacin. But the snails carry that parasite. And so they say to start your parasite cleanse 3 days prior to the full moon because parasites start to dislodge themselves from your body, hopping on the serotonin river in your body, eating all of your serotonin, which is your happy hormone chemical. They hop on that to allow themselves to create new communities inside of your body. And that's why people are a little kind of crazy during the full moon, because your serotonin is lowered because they're eating it and causing you to not be happy. But if you start it 3 days prior to the full moon, you'll actually hit more of them, and you'll stop them from recreating a community in your body. And that's also why they say to do it over the full moon, because they're the most active. And being the most active, you can get more of them, and you can get them and their eggs. And that's the whole purpose of like why you put black walnut hull in your tinctures, because that helps sweep out the eggs. Same with cloves. So when you're going in and eradicating them during the full moon, they're the heightened. They're making you feel crazy because they can brainwash you. They can mind control you. It's quite wild, some of the things that I've learned about parasites and how they can control your mind. And that just shows because they're controlling you to feel sad, to keep you in a low vibration so you don't go in and get rid of them. They're very smart. They've been around longer than us. They'll be around longer than us. And so one of the things that they say, if you want as strong and get most of them 3 days prior to the full moon or over the full moon. And I like sharing the French story because it does show how much we don't understand. Even that particular parasite isn't just in a snail. It's actually in fresh water, which is where snails are found. And so just because you're not eating snails, I've never eaten a snail, and I had schistomiacin, and it coated my reproductive system. And I was one of those unfortunate people that shouldn't have gotten a hysterectomy. And so I just didn't know that jumping into freshwater lakes back in the day could cause these things, And so that's really kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing, so that people have a good understanding of their bodies.
Yeah. I mean, parasites are everywhere because you speak about water and fresh bodies of water. And I mean, we all know the water that we drink isn't good.
Right.
Yeah. That's, if you're not doing your due diligence, I can't even speak, diligence
Yes.
with having a quality filter. We have a reverse osmosis.
Nice.
And then we have the
Do you
one
have
that
an
puts all
add
the
back?
minerals back in.
So you have an RO system with an add back, and that's perfect. RO removes everything, including most
Fluoride
arsenic.
and
Yeah, all of it. And then you don't want to drink RO. If you have to, that's fine. Just add minerals back. But if you have a whole water system where it's adding them back for your drinking and your ice, that's perfect. You don't necessarily need add back for your shower and brushing your teeth. It's good to actually add some minerals back with your shower. We have a RO system with a UV light. Now that we know our water is contaminated pretty much in the whole state of Washington, we have 2 places in Washington, and both of them have parasites in the water. We've tested it. And so we do the same thing. We have RO and filters. And then in the shower, because RO can remove everything, and it was like breaking my hair and making my skin yucky, we just added that back on a shower filter. But that's the best way. I mean, RO even removes a lot of arsenic that's in a lot of people's water. Like we bought some land and we're going to dig a well, and just the water table out in Nevada where we bought land has arsenic in it. It's just natural. It's just earth, but it's not good for us to have high levels of it in our bodies, and it'll accumulate over a period of time. I mean, lately I've been telling people you wouldn't drive your car and not change the oil, and you wouldn't add crappy gas. So you want to make sure you're doing the same thing with your body to make sure that things aren't accumulating a lot of it over time, that you're not flushing it out. And so even with what's in our water with some heavy metals, you want to just go in and kind of flush that out. But if you're doing RO water, you're so smart. It's so important. Water is our foundation. It really can make you very ill. That's why when you go to Bali, they say don't do
Drink the water.
anything. Don't go on. Yeah, because their water is so bad everywhere. I don't even think I would get in the water in Bali, honestly. It's just bad. It's bad. The water is very contaminated in our world. But we know that now. So we're just going to be proactive and clean our bodies, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, our world is full of contaminations, and it's sad that we have to be so aware,
Yeah.
especially as mothers when we're bringing children into the world, not only when they first come out of the womb and, it's jab, jab and all of the other things, but the baby industry, it's not regulated. So we
Uh-huh.
have carcinogens in nappies. But I want to speak into formula because I saw from one of your podcasts that two mums found parasites in baby formula. That's wild.
Yep.
What? It's just so sad to
Microscopic
know.
eggs. I mean, there's heavy metals.
Mm.
Like, we just need to be aware, especially if your child starts to act differently and starts having skin issues. It's not necessarily their fault, right? And for me personally, my behavioral changes was a big indication for my parents, but then they just put me on medication, which didn't find out what the root cause was. And now I know it was because I had chronic Lyme and have for over 30 years, and I had pandas. And so looking back, it's like at the moment your child's behavior starts to change, something is going on. There's a gut issue going on, which the gut is the first brain, not the second. There's something that has affected them, and more than likely, it's an environmental toxin.
You mentioned skin. Now, is it correct that the little bumps that your child may get here and on the back of their arms, that means they've got like 5 different types of parasites in them?
It just means there's a specific parasite. I don't know if it's 5. I've seen that, guys, and I know I posted it as a green screen, but I don't know if it's 5 different parasites. But I do know that when there's a gut issue and you have a parasite issue, it can exhibit as psoriasis, eczema, bumps. And as soon as you start to cleanse, you start to remove toxins and your skin starts to clear. By the time it comes out of your skin, it could have been in your body for like 30 days before your body starts to try and push it out. And that's how I really did figure out what was going on with me, is because I have great skin. And there was things coming out of my skin that would not go away. And I use really great skin products. Like, I'm obsessed. It's like no matter how poor I was, my skin products were always as bougie as I could get them that I could afford. And so the fact that like I had breakouts and I had like a scab, and it wasn't a scab, it was something else, and it wouldn't go away. I had one here and I had one here. And then at one point I had one here and I squeezed it and I saw something move and it freaked me out. And then I immediately was like, that's not, no, you didn't see that. You like, I gaslit myself because they knew I saw them. It's so wild. It's like a sci-fi.
Wow. And so, teeth grinding, can we speak into some of the other symptoms? And is weight gain one? I know that weight gain can be for mold, but could it be for
Both.
parasites? Okay.
Yeah, because they're stealing your nutrients. So
Yeah.
you're not able to process the food and the energy the way you normally would. They can steal up to 90% of our nutrients, leaving us with 10%. That's 10% of medications, supplements, food. That's 10% that your organs have to try and run off of, because they're absorbing up to 90% of our nutrients, which you need those nutrients for specific organs to run. I mean, all
So
the way down
greedy.
to like, yeah, like one reason why we get gray hairs, we can have a copper deficiency. So, well, why do you have that? Hookworm absorbs iron, causing you to have anemia, causing you to have a slower speech, causing you to have a twang. There's a lot of people in the South that the reason why they have a Southern drawl is because they have hookworm, and it
Wow.
absorbs all of the iron, which is the draw, is because your mind mouth connection is not happening. And that's because you're low in iron. You're low in iron because that's what a hook and whipworm feed off of. And I mean, this is studied. Like, this isn't just some random worm queen on the internet spitting facts. Like, this is a legit thing, and so when you're not getting those minerals, not getting those nutrients your body needs, your body starts to respond by not having that organ work as hard. So then your organ's not working as hard, right? And then it's causing other organs to work harder. So then they're going to wear out sooner. So in reality, It's trying to get a fine balance. And when you're not absorbing those nutrients, your balance is gone.
Wow. So, do you have any tips before we wrap this up of how often we should be doing them or anything? Hit us.
We should be deworming, cleansing 3 to 4 times a year. Parafy, which is my parasite cleanse, it has candida, tincture, heavy metals, and parasites plus the binder. We include instructions, so you really don't have to like think too hard when you're doing it because it is very stressful. It's 3 tinctures, 15 drops 3 times a day. We made it very easy. The important thing is getting the herbs in your body. We have a fast track guide that you can download for free that'll help you get going. It's like 10 pages long. We do have a cookbook, but just use it as a guide. It's not set in stone. We really just want you to get the herbs in your body. That's the most important part. Let them do their thing. Get in there, get working, and start feeling better. You're going to immediately see inflammation go down, and we give you everything you need to be successful.
Perfect. I love that. And like you said, you've got lots of free guides
Yeah.
in all of your links. So where can we find you? Where are your platforms? I will post everything in the show notes for people to click on.
You can find me on my website, rogershood.com. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Lemon8. My handle is Mrs. Rogers Hood, MRS ROGERSHOOD. On IG, there's a dot between Rogers and Hood. And my podcast is What's Eating You with the letter U. And you can find that on YouTube and all of the podcast channels out there.
Thank you so much for today. It has been so interesting. I've just been wanting to speak into this since I started my journey on my parasite cleansing, and then I found you, and I was like, "Oh my God, this Worm Queen legend! She's got it all." Rather than going to like all of these different places, yeah, you've got everyone covered with everything that you do and all of the knowledge. So, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, beautiful souls. The Awaken Mama podcast is a special place for us to grow, heal, and rise together because you're never alone on this journey. I'd love to connect with you, so don't be shy. Please comment below your takeaways and let us build this empowered community. Remember to hit like, hit subscribe, and join me every Sunday at 2:22 Angel Numbers for more conversations to support your wellness, wholeness, and awakening. I'm truly grateful you're here.